Welcome to Washington East to West Sports. This is episode 44. I am Matt Beatty, joined alongside, as usual, by Kevin Ardahl and Sean Beatty. And once again, we have JT the Ginger on Twitter back with us on the show. If you want to get involved in the show, go ahead and tweet us. I'm at Beatty_Matt. Sean is at Sean_Beatty. Kevin's at Kev's with first name release me 3. JT is at JT_the Ginger. Yeah, I got that one right too. If you want to get involved, subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a comment. Follow our page on the Elan Network. Let's touch on a couple quick topics before we dive into a lot more Mariners. So the Sounders are still undefeated. They won last Wednesday 2-1 over Real Salt Lake, and then they tied. I know it's a soccer thing. I'm sorry, everybody. On Saturday against the Vancouver Whitecaps. So Sounders still undefeated this season. So continue to support the Seattle Sounders because they're just on a tear. They don't lose. So
they're never losing again.
They're never losing again. They're going to be like the 2007 Patriots, except they're going to win the title. So it's going to be really nice for them.
Really bad right there. Oh my gosh.
Is that bad omen? Did I jinx it?
Yeah, you just called them the Patriots who lose.
I said they're going to win the title. They're going to win the title.
Figure it out.
Well, I will say I may have jinxed the Seattle Storm because they have lost their last two games since I talked about them last week. They lost the Washington Mystics by 4 at home on Tuesday, followed by a 3-point loss to the Las Vegas Aces yesterday on Sunday. So Storm on a 2-game skid. I'm sure they'll get right back at it. But then they might be in trouble because a lot of their players are going to the Olympics. So we'll see how they do down the stretch here before all those players depart for the Olympics. But I do want to bring up another topic for you gentlemen. So the Kraken have officially named their head coach, and it is Dave Hackstall. So he used to be a head coach for the Philadelphia Flyers for a little while before he got fired. He's recently been an assistant coach with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's a little unfortunate because Toronto has not had the greatest track record, just in general. But I want to see what you guys think of this hiring. I'm going to throw it to Sean first since he's the most hockey guy, I think, of the three of you.
I knew who the Hackstall's. It's a pretty popular name in hockey, so I've heard of him. Coaching-wise, though, however, I'm not too familiar with him as a coach because I don't really like the Flyers. So he was an assistant coach for the Maple Leafs. Now, the Maple Leafs, as you know, are cursed. That's just how it is. So I don't really put them losing or not doing well. I mean, they made the playoffs. That's really the bar. But for the Flyers, the Flyers are so up and down every year. It's hard to put it all on the coach. So I will again say this as it's hard to gauge how he is as a coach because in hockey a lot of it is talent around you. The Sharks were me and my brother. Matt, we're Sharks fans. They fired their head coach. Then he went on to coach Vegas, and we all see what Vegas is doing right now. So a lot of it, I think, is kind of like baseball where you have players, and if the players have good chemistry and flow together, they're going to overrule a lot of what the managers do. Now, the managers has a lot more say, I would say, than baseball of like hot goalies versus cold goalies. I don't know day in and day out his stance on that or, how he rotates lines and things like that, like mixes them up if they're not doing very well or inserts player here or there. I never watched a lot of Flyers day-to-day stuff, so I can't speak to his day-to-day, but I don't think anything of him being fired or anything like that before is necessarily a bad thing. I will, like every sport, he is 52, he's previously coached, he's been fired. I want to know how he is with analytics. I do not know that answer. I've not been able to find it because hockey analytics is it's harder to find than baseball and football, but that's what I'm hoping for. Be young, be on the cutting edge, please.
Kevin, any thoughts?
Yeah. I did. Yeah. It's no comment.
JT,
I have no
thoughts?
idea if it was good or not. I mean, I'm glad they got a head coach. I mean, it's probably good to where they can kind of establish what they get them kind of because the draft's in 2 months or a month?
No, it's July 21st.
July 21st. Okay, so you probably could have done a coach hire, before that to where they could establish he can establish the people around him to where they'd be like, okay, this is what we want to go for in the draft, like type of deal. Now it's kind of like a month in. So that'd be the only thing I comment. Maybe this should have been done sooner to where he can bring in his team, hire his staff of people to be like, okay, what do we want to do with this team, like type of deal. What are we looking for in the draft? What are the pieces? Like now you just have a month of getting a team together, and now what the effort are we doing for the draft? So I thought maybe management could have done a little bit better on that. That's all I'll say on that.
JT, any thoughts?
I hope he's more analytically friendly than his online presence suggests. Looking at his Twitter, tweets out the day of, "Hey, thanks for this opportunity, Seattle. Warm welcome." And then the previous tweet he's ever had, he's only had 2 tweets ever. The previous one, the first tweet he ever did, 2016, his little girl and a puppy in the back seat. So not sure how well he does with the WWWs and the online necessities. But if he wants, I would have him follow Evolving Hockey and Hockey Graphs, both on Twitter. Excellent analytically based Twitter accounts. But as far as Seattle goes, it's exciting, and he's had some head coaching experience. Hopefully maybe it's like a Pete Carroll reviving his career, on the West Coast. I don't know. He's kind of got that little salt and pepper hair kind of starting to come in. He's 52 years old currently. July birthday coming up, so he's going to turn 53, or they're going to start the season and he turns 53, and they're just going to bond over, hey, you have a birthday, I have a birthday too, yay,
We all have
good.
birthdays.
Whoa, that's crazy.
And he coached in North Dakota, so respect. That's, maybe that has acclimated him to working with the youth, of our generation. They're the future, let them lead the way. Back to you, Matt.
That was some of the best analysis I've ever heard, actually. So I appreciate that, JT. And Dave, welcome to Seattle. It's not always 107, so you won't have to get used to that. So don't worry about that. But gentlemen, let's move into the Seattle Mariners. So they are not here dealing with the hotness. They are out they're probably on the road right now, going to Toronto. They were in Chicago
they're not in Toronto. They're not in Toronto.
Oh yeah, sorry. In Florida. I forgot Toronto is not an option at the moment. That would be cool if they could go back to Toronto at some point. But I don't think it's gonna happen this season. So they're in Florida now, actually. But the last week of games, so they had a 2-game homestand against Colorado. They won 2-1 in the first one, then lost 5-2 in the second one. Went to Chicago for 3 games after a day off. They won 9-3, 3-2, finishing up a game yesterday on Sunday before losing 7-5 in a 7-inning game yesterday as well to make up for the game on Saturday that they did not complete. So I'm just going to throw it to one of you guys. You tell me what you think. So Kevin, what did you think of the Seattle Mariners this past week? Only 5 games, but 3-2 positive record. So
Matthew, they're in New York.
Yeah, I was about to say they're in Buffalo.
Yeah, they're in Buffalo.
They're playing in Buffalo.
Wherever Toronto is, they're not in Canada.
Yeah, Canada is having kind of like a lockdown with COVID situation. So if you go in, you don't come out type of deal. I'm sad because my predictions did not come true of them getting swept by the Rockies and then sweeping the White Sox. It was kind of close, just because that kind of felt like the thing at the time. Like they're just gonna lose to crappy teams and beat the really good, the good teams of the league. Starting with Colorado, I thought they could do better, especially against Colorado's pitching is not really that great, and pretty much they ran into Trevor Story. Just put it like that. The White Sox series was kind of interesting. White Sox need to put a freaking dome over the stadium. I'm tired of this rain out bull crap. I was kind of sad because I have Grandal and I benched him like the one time and then he hits the home run. So I was like, but I'm glad that they are still beating good teams. They're kind of like surprising a lot of people and turning some heads. Pitching wise, bullpen not so great, and we'll get into a couple of things of that instance of like what happened on Sunday here in a little bit. Starting pitching has still kind of looked pretty solid. Flexen and Kikuchi's still doing nice things. Other than that, the bats are still doing what they're doing with JP, and Fraley's kind of come down a little bit, but he's still solid. And then Trammell has bats been heating up a little bit, has come a couple of bombs. So I'm glad to see Trammell's turning it on a little bit. Other than that, I thought overall it was a good week.
JT, what are your thoughts?
You ended with Trammell, and I smiled because post-game interview, tell me about that home run. And he was like, which one? Just, he just walked away after that. See you later. I think it was Dave Sims interviewing him, but I don't know. Ultimately, looking at it, two one-run games on the week. That's always nice. Graveman locking it down. Glad to have him back healthy. Kikuchi, that's awesome. Getting the win over Rodon. Seawald, surprising, pleasantly. He got 2 wins on the week. Look at him. But ultimately, for a 5-game week, solid. 3-2, take it. Wish kind of gone better in that final game in Chicago, but onward and upward. Toronto and Texas on the horizon.
Sean?
Yeah, Colorado, you in 2 games you can't score 4 runs against Colorado and their pitching. I know Marquez has a lot of talent. People are saying, hey, get him out of Colorado. Pitches in a big ballpark and does pretty well, but like Kevin said, the pitching is not there to be 2-run both games. Like, you've got to do better against Colorado. That's why this team's so frustrating. Like, you see it, then you come to see Chicago. I don't know how they win these games. Kikuchi just does Kikuchi things. And then Logan Gilbert, who I'm really excited to see, want him to see, he's been hot, gets rained out after 2 awesome innings and just is mowing down White Sox. And then he doesn't get to finish, but the Mariners find a way to get it done with, like Kevin said, Trammell just hitting dingers. Like, that's all they're going to do, apparently. In the last game, they start ugly and then make a little late inning comeback, but it would have been nice to, with that, with Gilbert getting rained out and not having a lot of depth, when you throw Duggar in there to start a game against the White Sox, it's going to be rough. Because, again, we forget the White Sox are good. They're a good team. So everyone's like, oh, we'll get the sweep. I'm like, oh, they're probably going to get one. But it would have been nice for a little bit more competitive, a little bit more oomph out of starters. But hopefully those days are getting less, which we'll talk about later. But overall, it was a fine week. 3-2 against Colorado and Chicago. I'll take it.
Yeah, above 500. A couple days off, which is fairly unusual for their schedule, I think. But nice to get that over 500. And, you win the series against Chicago, split a short 2-game series against Colorado. So I think nothing but positivity for the Mariners there. But let's talk a little bit about something that could be perceived as a negative by some people. But yesterday, Seattle Mariners pitcher Hector Santiago was ejected in the 5th inning of the game against the White Sox because after the umpires inspected his glove, they found a sticky stuff on the inside of his glove. So just reading the story from ESPN's Jesse Rogers, he's been a major leaguer for 10 years. And what he said, quote, was, all I was using was rosin. That was what was provided. And the weirdest part reading this story was the glove was seen being wrapped up by the authenticator to be further inspected in New York under the new rule that went into effect Monday. We talked about the sticky stuff last week. We don't need to get too much into that. It's for grip, everybody. Like, you need to grip the ball. Like, if you were in the Pacific Northwest this week, you would not be able to grip a baseball because it's too hot, too sweaty. You need to find something to grip the ball with. I don't believe that Hector Santiago did anything illegal, sticky substance wise. I believe him when he said it was just rosin. The crazy part to me is the way the league has handled it. Why, like wrapping the glove and sending it to New York for further inspection like it's a crime scene. Like, it just seems a little over the top. I understand you want pitchers to follow the rules, but there needs to be a point to where you look at yourselves and go, is this a little ridiculous? Because you're saran wrapping a glove and sending it to Major League Baseball headquarters. it just seems like a lot more theater than it actually needs to be. And you guys have probably seen all the controversy with some of the pitchers, like Scherzer getting called out by the was it Girardi for the Phillies. You've got guys taking their pants off, they're checking belts, like Joe Kelly's getting his glasses checked. It's like, is this necessary? Like, or is there a better way we can do this? I think either of those questions are very valid, because it seems ridiculous at this point. Like, it seems like you want someone to be in trouble, and they finally found their guy in Hector Santiago. It just seems like MLB wants them to be confirmed that this is a problem, and that's why they're cracking down on it. It's kind of ridiculous, if you ask me. Kevin, I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think?
Yeah, I looked at the video several times, just trying to kind of, because the angles that, and there were a couple different angles that I could see on Twitter. It was really hard to see like a clear, sticky substance on the glove, in my opinion. It probably could have been just rosin. My thing is, and I put this on Twitter too, like, what if it was like after the 10-day period? What if you find out it was just rosin? And then the Mariners just went, 10 days without, an extra player. Like, when does the league get punished? Like, do the Mariners get compensated for that? Because that's unacceptable. Just because, they know what to look for in sticky stuff, but at the same time too, they're major league umpires. They're not CSI, technician, scientists who are like, yep, well, we did the chemical thing right here. Like, I get they're going to have a kind of an idea what sticky stuff is, but depending on temperature and things like that, if it turns out to be nothing, like, I kind of want heads. I want commissioner's head on a stick. I want those umps heads on a stick a little bit, just because. And I don't even care if it wasn't the Mariners. Like, it could have been freaking the Marlins, for all I give a crap. Like, it's the fact that you're affecting a team just like based off this type of. It's just silliness, to be honest. I agree to an extent. There has to be an overall agreed to situation on what to do with the spider tech situation for safety purposes, and we got into that last week a little bit. To be honest, it's just silly. It's disrupting the flow of the game, and honestly, I think it will probably just turn people away from the game, if anything more. Like, they think it's saving the game. Like people after the whole thing with Houston, like, the cheating scandal, everybody hating them and stuff like that. They think that, like, they just want to crack down on everything cheating, when, like, fans just need to realize, as we've already mentioned in this podcast, everybody's been doing it for quite some time. Like, all forms of cheating, either spider tag, signal stealing, all that stuff, like corked backs. Like, it's been, people have been trying to cheat for a long time, and it's probably not going to go away, especially when it comes to something like, I get certain things like cork bats and stuff like that, but if it's for safety purposes, there has to be something that's agreed on between the Players Association and the organization, because it's getting silly to where people are just going to probably just stop watching. Like, numbers will go down because the game getting interrupted with this type of crap. They need to try to keep them to a minimum, and I'll pass it on.
Sean, what do you think?
I think largely the same thing. From what I saw in an article, and I saw a different article that said they checked him after every inning. And this article on ESPN that you linked, Matthew, said they didn't check him after every inning. Now, I've seen pitchers, we talk about it later, get checked every inning. And from my understanding is a lot of the pitchers do. So when I first read the article, he got checked every inning. So that's the assumption I'm going off of. He was checked every inning and was checked again, because as they said on TV, he was checked again before he left the game. And then they found it. They didn't find it the first 4 times they checked him, then they found it the 5th time. That's where it becomes an issue with me, is like, if it breeds credence to the fact that he wasn't using anything like rosin. It's 90% humidity, 92%. We're having a heat wave right now. And again, like, what deems it as sticky versus not sticky versus he's getting an advantage from it versus what's a foreign sticky substance, like between rosin and sweat. That's like the thing. And like, yeah, all 4 of them might have agreed it was sticky, but that doesn't mean it wasn't from the substance he's allowed to use. He's allowed rosin and he's going to sweat. And if it's between those two things and it's still sticky, it's still allowed. That's the part I don't get with it. And I will agree to your point, to a point, Kevin, of like, they're not allowed to do this. Baseball is allowed to do this, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
Then unfortunately, we agree that I think, and it's going to be an issue next year with the labor negotiations. It's going to be a very big sticking point. I'm so sorry. Next year, but dad jokes. They're going to need some uniformity, but right now they just don't have any, and it's just going to continue like this. I think for the punishment, the Mariners can't appeal this until he's officially suspended, so he can play. So it's not like it's really going to hurt the Mariners too much. But like to Kevin's point, it could hurt another team or somebody like that if you like don't uphold the appeal and just suspend him right away, and then he didn't do anything. It's a rough track to go down, I would say. Uniform this now and as quick as possible, because it's going to get ridiculous here in a little bit.
Add a quick point onto that, just real quick. Like when, like, to your agree, it'll get bigger. Like, what if it's a DeGrom? Like, do Mets fans just literally just murder everything inside? Like,
as we've seen, like all the good pitchers like DeGrom, Cole, Scherzer get checked like 90 times a game. So I don't know if any of them.
But I'm saying, like, if this thing happens where they, there's rosin, it's a hot day, and DeGrom gets called out, gets thrown out of the game for it, like, do heads roll?
A very common sticky substance used that we talked about on this podcast in the past was sunscreen, which it's super hot right now, rosin, and sweat. All those things are readily available still right now. You can use sunscreen. So
I would advise sunscreen with some of these.
What's stopping that same substance? Ginger. From happening right now. And those are all legal substances. They can be combined on the arm to make a sticky substance, but they're all legal. So like, where do we draw the line here? Like what? So that's my issue. There's no clarity. There's nothing to like say that he did anything. To sum it up, send it to JT. I think he didn't do anything wrong. If they checked it every inning, checked in the fifth inning as he's coming out, it's now a problem. I don't see it.
Just before I go to JT, he's 1-1 with a 2.65 ERA and 9 appearances across 17 innings so far for the Mariners. JT, what do you think?
Hector Santiago, the scapegoat in our story, as the CBA will unfold this offseason. This is just a black eye. This is just not fun. I remember when baseball used to be a family sport and players weren't taking off their pants on the field. Call me crazy as a father. If my kid saw that and said, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, I don't know, maybe he's got to be in his pants. But ultimately, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right? No? Okay. Well, the differentiator is the sticky tack. And like Sean mentioned, there's a difference between substance for grip and a foreign substance to gain an advantage, to increase RPMs. Sunscreen is not one of those. And rosin is on the field. And sweat, I hope they're sweating out there. Then they just
players from sweating. That's what's next.
You're right. I mean, Ohtani doesn't sweat. He's cyborg, obviously. Put him aside. But ultimately, I think what MLB is saying is, hey, players, it's your fault that our balls suck. We own Rawlings, and they produce the baseball, and it's slick and it's leathery. And sorry that our leathery balls are awful, and you can't grab them well, because Darvish had some Japanese balls sent over, and he passed around and had everyone feel his balls in the clubhouse. And people were like, "Oh wow, I love these Japanese balls." But sorry, baseballs. I got sidetracked with the joke. But I'd be interested to know what the Padres owner thought of that, because he's a part owner in Rawlings. This is getting weird. This is like too close to proximity where you can't. It's weird that MLB owns the company that produces the ball for your sport, and it's it's just unfortunate that we're seeing it unfold in real time. And they decided to do it in the middle of the year. Poor timing. Shame on you, MLB.
Well, let me ask you this before we move on to our next topic here. Do you guys, because I've heard a lot of things about MLB wanting more offense. Do you want more offense, or do you care regardless? JT, what do you think?
Let the kids play. I don't care if there's more offense or defense or special teams. But we're talking about baseball. Pitching, I just want to see elite players, play. I don't care if the score is 9-8. I don't care if it's 2-3. I just want to see a product that I can rely on and that's trustworthy. On the up and up. I mean, the steroids was kind of a black eye, and this is starting to get where it's like, well, maybe I'll just watch the NBA finals. But I think ultimately it's gotten a little bit too far. Pitching has gotten a little bit too easy. What they're able to do, manipulate the ball. There needs to be a balance, pull towards hitters, but there's a way to do it, and this isn't it.
Sean?
Yeah, there, like JT's point, it just needs to be uniformity. I don't really care if it's 1-0 or 10-9. Like, I just want to see baseball players play baseball on the same level. I get that everybody in the history of time in every sport are going to try to gain an advantage on some level. NFL teams are going to record people. Basketball players are going to do whatever they're going to do. Same with hockey and all that stuff. It's just going to be to skirt the rules. It's just going to be, but like JT said, Major League Baseball owns the rights to making the baseball. And it's as if Wilson was like messing with the footballs that they're making year in and year out. Like, it's on you, baseball. You've screwed this up so much that pitchers need to cheat to get a grip on a baseball you make. Just make a uniform baseball, figure it out, and leave it, and then baseball will correct itself. But year in and year out, with you trying to manipulate it and saying, like, oh, we need more offense, or oh, we need more pitching, baseball will figure that out. That's how every sport works. It autocorrects. Like, we had dead ball, then it went to Babe Ruth doing his thing, and then it adjusted back Bob Gibson. We lowered the mound, then all the home runs happened. Like, the commodity will be, the need will be happen. Like, we have all these pitchers, pitching's at a historic level. Then the teams will go crazy after and try to develop all these hitters. Then we'll hit, and then we'll go back to pitching. Happens all the time. It cycles. So I do not care if they get more hitting. It'll happen. It'll be fine. Leave it alone.
Kevin?
Yeah, it's sad because I get they're trying to appeal to the casual baseball fan, because fans like us, I think you guys will agree. Like, I personally love seeing a pitcher dominate. Like, I think that's just as entertaining as people hitting home runs. Like, watching that chess matchup at between a batter and a pitcher, and a catcher too, technically. As far as the Rawlings thing, why I think it's different, just because we've had this issue in the past. I think you have too many people higher up that are old and they don't want to, like, don't touch baseball, don't touch the classic. You can't, no, you can't change the balls.
The problem is they do change the balls. That's
but,
the problem. If they left it alone, it'd be fine. Like,
but they change it to what they think is, instead of like listening to the younger generation of, hey, especially now that you got to realize that most pitchers nowadays can throw above 95, and especially for safety purposes, you want to be able to grip that ball when you're throwing above 95, because I'm sure most people don't like taking 95 miles an hour to the face or anywhere, to be honest. Honestly, and I think, as JT already mentioned, it will come to fruition next year, between Players Association and MLB, like clashing on what the heck to do. But MLB needs to pull their head out of their butts and figure out something, because, like I said, or else even the casual fans are just not going to give a crap.
If I can say one more thing too,
Yeah.
I think hitters are also to blame for their own downfall. I remember when you had a 2-strike swing, and striking out was shameful, or frustrating, put it that way. Now you see hitters, they don't want to hit into the double play. They'd rather just take a pitch, strike out, walk back to the dugout and be like, justify it by, hey, I didn't hit into a double play and end the inning. I just watched a pitch just come over the plate. It's a weird approach. It's almost like one swing is being taught, uppercut, exit velo, home runs, and either you walk, you hit a home run, or strike out. And it's that part of it is not fun. There's very little to no small ball, and all the shifting, and Joe Schmo sitting back and saying, the whole left infield is wide open. Yeah, I mean, like it's tough to say that, but it just, I don't know. There's things that can be done that don't have to involve outlawing sunscreen. As a ginger, it makes me sad. I'd recommend SPF 50 plus, Coppertone Sports, excellent. Spray on the limbs and at least the cream based on your face so it makes it stick. That's my recommendation. But
Good
back to you, Matt.
Sunscreen podcast we got going on here.
Yeah, I love home runs, but like Kevin said, I also do like a pitcher's duel. Like, it is fun to watch. I'm sure the casual fan is more interested in the long ball than the strikeout, so I understand from that aspect. But there's no reason to try and generate more offense. Like Sean said, it will come in cycles. Hitters will get better. They will figure it out. They will figure out timing, and eventually the long balls will come. And they're hitting baseballs further than they ever have. So I don't really see a need for more offense. And baseball is not typically an offensive sport for the most part. I mean, you think of basketball when you think of that, or you think of football when you think of that. You don't really think of baseball as an offense-driven sport for the most part.
It's hard to hit a baseball.
It is hard to hit a baseball. So let's move on to a prospect update. I don't know who I'm throwing it to here. You guys can look at each other on the screen and figure out who is going to give us a prospect update from the Aquasox Dust Devils game. I don't know who went to most games or what happened. I'm going to throw it to JT first because he's got a very nice hat on. It's not related to either team, but I think he's going to give the best prospect update. JT, what do you got for us?
We can just go in order of the week because I saw Tuesday's game, Kevin saw Wednesday, and then I think Friday and Saturday we're seeing collectively.
Yeah.
So Tuesday, Juan Then pitched, and he was hitting 97. He was looking solid. Weather here's hot, Tri-Cities this last week and upcoming week. 11th overall prospect, 21-year-old, and I thought he had a solid outing. Nothing extraordinary by any means, but in terms of just getting the job done, 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, no earned, 2 hits. That's a good outing. Ultimately, his pitch count got him, and I would just more put it on the weather than anything. I mean, it's tough to throw when it's 98 degrees, So I thought Juan Then is as built. I see him progressing, and that was fun to see him on Tuesday night.
I do want to say, does the shade not go the shade slowly comes into the infield and over the field? How does that work?
So
Oh, go ahead.
I say the shade was for the stands. So the pitcher's in the sun for the first at least 3 innings, if it's a 7:00 game. And if I remember right, Deloche that night faced a lefty, and he's also a lefty hitter. He had 3 strikeouts, so I don't know how his platooning is against righties, lefties, but that was kind of odd to see, especially someone of his caliber. So that's something he probably needs to work on, because the Dust Devils pitcher, I'm not going to remember his name, but he went 5 1/3 with 10 Ks on the night. Short little lefty was pumping it.
Kevin, let's go to Kevin for a Wednesday report.
So Wednesday, the main pitcher for the Aquasox, the starting pitcher, was Brash. Only went 4 innings, I believe, if I have that written down correct. With 7 Ks, 1 walk, only 1 earned run with 2 hits, I believe. good quality stuff out of the kid. Constantly was throwing 100 to 102 on his fastball, nice slider, a good changeup as well. Overall, what I thought from what I saw with him was just impressive. Unfortunately, like I said, he only pitched like 4 innings just because I think the heat got to him. And then the bull came in and kind of still continued to do their thing until it was hitless until the bottom of the 7th, where Tri-Cities got on the board due to an error by the catcher on a guy from first tried to steal, and catcher tried to throw him out at second but overthrew, and then the guy got to third, and then they scored him home after that. Austin Shenton had a nice clutch 2 RBI hit, single in the 8th. Good. I mean, he had a good at bat too. Was fighting some good stuff off. Other people that impressed me were Frick. He had a solid night. I think he was 2 for 4 that evening. But overall, like I said, pretty good stuff. Even the bullpen that evening was solid all the way up until my wife jinxed it in the in the bottom of the 9th because there was 2 outs and it was full count, and she's like, last pitch of the game, and I was like not really. I'm like, he can fight this off. I'm like, he can hit the ball, and then like Tri-Cities tied it up literally, and then my wife was like, we're going, and I was like, ah. But the Tri-Cities eventually went on to win that in the 11th. I believe 5-4 was the final score. I believe Shenton got another run in the 11th, but then Tri-Cities, the bottom of the 11th, got 2 runs to win the whole thing. So overall, exciting game. I liked it because, like I said, it was a pitching matchup for pretty much 7 innings, even though Brash only went for 4. Both the people that came out of the bullpen looked impressive all the way up until the 7th. Even then, they still looked good. Like I said, they only gave up 1 run until the 9th. So overall, it's a good game.
All right, now let's go to Sean for a Friday report. Sean, what do you got?
So I went to Friday and Saturday with JT. Kevin went with us on a Saturday, so all 3 of us were able to go to one game. So Friday I saw Hancock. I was pretty excited. Like JT said, I think the weather was a big deal. It was like 95 after an hour of playing, so they were laboring. Hancock didn't look like he had his best stuff. Still went 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, a walk. So I mean, when you don't look like you have the amazing your A+ stuff, and you still give up, only give up 2 runs in 5 innings, that's still playable. That's still great. So he looks like it. What I wanted to talk about was on Friday, the Dust Devils scored 12 runs in the first 2 innings. They Hasley put a woodshed. I would say over the 2 games that I saw, I'm going to combine it because it's kind of hard to separate the 2 games. I really liked Deloach's approach. He did struggle against lefties, to JT's point, but he hit a home run on the second pitch. The Dust Devils never led again. Never even sniffed the lead. Austin Shenton looked really good too. He kept making contact, getting on base. Frick, I was like, how is his OPS so high? He went over, but he walked 4 times in 2 games. He's just constantly on base. And the other one I want to say, the sneaky guy was Marlowe, who got called up from low A, who just keeps getting on base, hitting home runs. So, or extra base hits at the very least. So he was a nice surprise. But Hancock himself looked, it was a man amongst boys. I mean, you could tell with bad stuff, he still was just the best player out there.
All right, who wants to give us a Saturday report?
Go for it.
I'll start it off because I don't know if we all realized it at the time, but looking back, somewhat of history, George Kirby in his professional career has given up 5 walks and 1 hit by pitch, and we witnessed the hit by pitch and one of those 5 walks. Just let that sink in.
Can I say, as Kevin's going to make the comment, I jinxed Kirby like the pitch before. I looked to our buddy Henry and Kevin, and I go, you better swing, because this guy behind us was like, oh, work the count, take the walk. I go, he's not giving up freebies. Don't worry about it. The next pitch hit the guy
Eggs
and
up right in the
gave a freebie to him. So I'm so sorry, Kirby, that I jinxed your perfect hit by pitch record. But you had 9 strikeouts in 6 innings. So and I'll give up 2. So I think you looked pretty good for that. But I'm so sorry.
Kirby, it's at Sean Beatty, Sean_Beatty. If you want to get at him, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, it was a good game by Kirby. Even though we could tell he was a little bit off with the walk and then the hitting the guy. Like, I mean, what he did too, like overall was really good. The only thing that stood out to me in this game was just sloppy defense, not by Kirby, but just because there was 5 errors in that game, like by the Aquasox. It was kind of weird. Just unusual because like Wednesday night, like the second baseman and Frick were just having a ball out there, man. They were straight just grabbing things they shouldn't have. I was like, my eyes were wide open on a couple of the catches that they made on Wednesday. So it was just kind of weird to see. I don't know if it was just they were just tired. It's the 5th game of the series. It's hot. Like, who knows? I mean, they came back and they rallied to win that game. Sadly, JT's boy Igor didn't have a good outing either, even big boys, big toys. But it was cool to see him. That dude is a man among those, like literally in size, like just huge.
6'7", 260, and lumbers. Yeah, fielding is a 20. Solid 20 grade fielding.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. Overall, it was good. I was about to say overall it was a good game.
All right. So let's go around one more time. Favorite prospect you saw play for the Mariners? I'm gonna start with Kevin.
Before I do, I was just going to do a quick shout out to the Sunday game that we didn't get to see. The high A starter Taylor Dollard pitching for the Aquasox, 7 innings, 2 earned runs, no walks, 9 Ks on 100 pitches and 69 strikeouts. 69.
Very nice.
Like, kind of impressive when I saw that. I was like, oh, okay. Overall, I would say the prospect that kind of, even though one game I didn't get to see him, that lit up was Austin Chenton. Just solid. It's very solid to plate. Good eyes. Good. Knew how to. There was a time on Wednesday where he had a good fight with pitcher. Just was hitting 3-2 count, just swinging balls off. Like you do. Just gotta swing those balls. Fighting balls off everywhere. Just but also like make solid contact as well. And clutch. Like they like in the bottom of the 8th, or excuse me, the top of the 8th, they needed to answer back to the run, and he did with a nice 2 RBI single. So I would say Austin Chenton overall.
For Sean?
I've kind of been on the Zach Deloche bandwagon, and despite the striking, I saw the 2 games. Despite striking out a couple times to lefties, he still let's do some math. 5 for 11 and 2 walks. So and a home run. So that'll play at any level. I think he's up to. I just had it over here. Shoot, I just lost it. But he's been. He has a 140 WRC plus, so he's playing like it.
Kind of good.
JT?
That's interesting, because I would counterpoint that I wasn't impressed by Deloche. Not to rock the boat, but 10 strikeouts on the week, 2 walks. He had 6 hits, 5 singles, 1 home run. I just expected more. I don't know.
Hashtag not impressed is what JT is saying.
Man.
Yeah, I'm paying my $10 ticket or whatever. Actually, no, in-laws, weren't in town, so they just gave me their tickets. But same for Polkovich. Wasn't really impressed. Didn't really stand out much. Guess he got to him. Um, I think looking at what Stout did was impressive. Carter Benz, the catching prospect, probably going to be known more for his bat than his fielding. He gave up quite a few stolen bases on the week, if I recall. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But Shenton was a good one. I also think Tyler Keenan did pretty solid. Not a name I've really looked at much, but like in real life, it's like, okay, like this is a good team, and he's not just getting unnoticed, at least.
All right. Well, that was a solid Aquasox report. I'm glad you guys got to see some good baseball from the Aquasox. But one player you did not see was Julio Rodriguez, and that man is moving on up. He is going to AA Arkansas. I believe it was announced. Was that today? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, today. So Julio moving up to AA Arkansas. I don't think anyone is surprised by this move, but I'm gonna throw it to Sean. How soon will Mariners fans see Julio in a Mariners uniform? I think you said 2022. Is that still your accurate or your prediction?
Yes. I think he makes it to maybe AAA by this year, but he will not be up this year. He'll be up next year.
JT, how excited are you to see Julio moving up? And are you sad you didn't get to see him?
Yeah, mixed emotions. I was really hoping he would be there. But hey, when you got to bat third in the order in front of Jose Bautista for the Dominican Republic and qualify your country's baseball team for the Olympics, I guess I'll allow it. I mean, I have to. It happened, right? But yeah, that was is kind of writing was on the wall. Yeah, just too bad that didn't get to see him in real life. It's the only time that Everett's visiting the Tri-Cities this season. So even if Noelvi gets promoted to high A, you'd have to go visit him in Everett, Matt. There you go.
It's a little bit of a drive. I would just rather just take the ferry probably if I did go to Everett. That seems like a little bit quicker route than taking just god awful I-5. Kevin, what do you think of Julio being called up to AA?
I think it's time. I mean, I think he's been a man above boys in high A. And I mean, he's gone to the Dominican Republic team and done well. So I'm not surprised that they made the move. I think I think he's still going to just be a beast with the Travelers. And hopefully we get to see him in a Rainiers uniform toward the end of the year. Because that's why I want to see too. Like, I want to see that slow progression. I want to see if unless he's just murdering in Arkansas, then of course I guess move him on up. But I want to see that development, type of deal. If I agree with Sean. I doubt he makes a Mariners call up in September. If he does, cool, I guess. But I'm not gonna be sad if he's not called up, type of deal. I'm not gonna be like, where the hell is Julio? So yeah, it's I'm glad for him. His hard work's paying off. He's moving on up, and hopefully excited to see him join the Mariners next season.
JT, I want to say something about Zach Deloche. So how dare you talk about the 10th best hitter in the league as underachieving? And I only bring that up because he's only 10th because there are 5 other Aquasox above him, according to OPS on that list. It really wasn't even about Zach Deloche. It was just that the Everett Aquasox basically lead in everything OPS in the entire baseball league.
I was underwhelmed. He wilted in the desert sun.
Jack Larson, Carter Benz, Shetton, Frick, and Julio are all have a higher OPS than him.
I think it's more tongue in cheek for me. He didn't show out. If I'm just going to grade him on a 5 game of, he didn't play on Wednesday, but I know he's capable of the stats fleshed out. Small sample for a week, but maybe he needs to stay away.
Mine was tongue in cheek as well, because if you include the 11th player, 6 of the top 11 are Everett Aquasox players. So an OPS for the entire league. So they're doing pretty well for themselves.
Yeah, I did want to shout out to Brandon Williamson. He was promoted a week or two ago from Everett up to Arkansas. So already on the season, before he got promoted, he had an immaculate inning. He shows up in Arkansas. The very first inning he pitches there at AA level, another immaculate inning. Touche.
Nicely done.
Well played. Well played. So it is almost the end of June, so it is time for our monthly standings watch. And Sean sent me an article today from 538, the MLB contender nobody saw coming. So in the beginning paragraph, the two most impressive teams to this writer, which is Neil Payne, he says the two most surprising teams are the Giants and the Red Sox, but the third most impressive club is Pacific Northwest's own, the Seattle Mariners, because on paper they were looking like one of the worst teams, but right now they are above 500 and they are currently tied with the Yankees for the AL wildcard race. So I'm just going to ask you guys a simple question. Mariners are right now 41-38. They are 519. They are sitting third in the AL West. We all made our predictions before the season, but looking at where they are right now, let's go above expectations, about where you thought, below expectations, and then right now they're tied for the AL wild card. But let's go with where you think they'll be in a month. So I will go ahead and start. This is definitely above expectations, I would say, for the Mariners. I think we all kind of imagine them maybe starting out hot, kind of simmering down a little bit, and then just kind of not necessarily around 500, maybe a little below 500 ball for the rest of the way. So to see them above 500, to see them playing as well as they have lately, there's a lot of optimism from me with the Seattle Mariners. Now, generally that gets dashed at some point in the season with the Mariners. So obviously, as Ted Lasso once put it, it's the hope that kills you. So I'm not going to put all my hope into the Mariners, but I am very happy with where they are and how they're playing, and it's fun to watch them right now with all the players that are playing well, like JP, and you've got all your good pitching with Logan Gilbert prospect. You've got guys showing up that Jake Fraley's are playing well. You got Mitch Haniger back in the swing of things. So this team is fun to watch. They are playing well. They're definitely exceeding expectations. Where they are in a month, I think they'll be about 500, maybe one or two games below. I think they'll come back down to earth, so to speak, and I think they'll be out of the wild card, but I think they won't be completely out of it. They'll be, three teams back with a wild card and in a position going into August and September to maybe make a run that no one thought is possible. So Sean, what do you think?
I'm going to say two answers. I'm going to say they're exactly where I thought they would be because they're super lucky. Their win-loss is not indicative of how they've actually been playing with a negative 40-plus run differential. That's exactly where I thought they'd be with that number. The win-loss is where I think they're overachieving, where I think that they are surprising me. But at the end of the day, I think they're playing exactly what I thought their talent would be. Win-loss does not show that. Where do I think they'll end up? I think they'll end up close to where I thought they would be. I thought they'd be 10 games below 500. I don't know if they'll quite be that bad now since they're 500 and about 80 games in the season, halfway through the season. But it's still possible. I'll say like 8 games below 500 now. Like you got a couple more. By the way, the article doesn't say, like, if you really read it and, like, later, it's basically like, yeah, they're unlucky and they're not going to make the playoffs. That's basically what it says at the end, but.
JT, what do you think?
Taking the notes. I think they've met, slightly exceeded expectations. I think ultimately, yeah, they're doing it in a really weird way, and plus minus, like Sean says, will flesh out. Going into the All-Star break, looking at Toronto, so in Buffalo, the home of the Buffalo Wild Wing. And then we're home to Texas, home to the Yankees, home to the Angels of Los Angeles. And so, did I say that right, Kevin?
Yeah.
So, lots a lot of home games. That's 9 home games in a row. I would expect to hold this above 500. I want to see that New York series because I feel like on par with that in Los Angeles. Like we'll probably take a whooping against Toronto. Texas, we need to take that series, but I really want to see those last 2 matchups going to the All-Star break just to kind of see like where we stand against some other fellow AL opponents.
Kevin, what do you think?
I thought they'd be, leading the whole league in wins by now, of course. No, but they might exceed possibly my expectations because I think I gave them 69 wins just to be that guy. And they're already 47?
41.
41. So who knows? It might exceed my wonderful expectations. But yeah, to kind of keep going off of JT's thing, I think their schedule for July is actually favorable. Other than you have 2 kind of 500 teams with Toronto and Yankees. We'll see what kind of happens there. The only other team is Oakland toward the end. Oakland, you know what we have against Oakland. Oakland's a good team, and they always play us tough. But the rest of the schedule kind of seems favorable with Texas I always want to say Anaheim. Sorry, Los Angeles.
No, it said wrong again, Kevin. Say it correctly.
I'm head of this.
Thank you.
Blow me. And the Tejas Rangers. So it should be a favorable July, though. I mean, what we've seen too. A lot of times we lose to really bad teams and then we beat good teams. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get swept by the Rockies again when we play them here coming up in about 2.5 weeks. Hopefully not, but I think toward the end of the month we're still going to kind of be around the 500 mark. Because to be honest, our division's got 2 other really good teams with Houston and with the Athletics. So I would say maybe 2 to 3 games above 500, but we're still probably going to be in third for the division just because those are really good teams.
All right. Well, let us know what you think of how the Mariners have done so far and how you think they will end up going into this. I am Matt Bates for Matt. Sean's at Sean's for Bates. Kev's at Kev's Believes First Team Believes being a 3. JT is at JT_the Ginger. I just want to let everyone know that they will open up full capacity seating for the Seattle Mariners starting next month. And I have just purchased my tickets for the Toronto Blue Jays in August. So I will see you T-Mobile Park on Saturday, as the Mariners will hopefully not allow too many home runs to Vlad Guerrero Jr., but that'll be a fun game. I want to get out on one last thing for everybody. So as I mentioned, the Mariners are going to be opening up seating, and Seahawks have announced that they will have full capacity at Lumen Field for the regular season. So I'm just going to go around real quick and ask, do you think this will stick by the time the season comes around? And how excited for you are this? So I will go ahead and start. I do think this will stick. There have been a lot of variants, but hopefully you got your vaccinations, and King County is above 70%. So hopefully nothing terrible happens throughout that time before we get to the regular season. I am very excited for this. I would like to go to a game this year. Tickets are a little pricey for the Seahawks, so that may not be possible. But hopefully that will help the Seahawks play better at home and not lose to the New York Giants. So, Kevin, what do you think?
It's tough. Just because, yeah, I think it will, to start, I think it will stick. Whether it stays during the season will depend, just because the Delta variant is here. There's still a lot of things to be discovered about the Delta variant. And we'll see how quickly it spreads. Hopefully it doesn't. So, just because I want to see the Seahawks at full capacity, and I want to see the 12th man just making quarterbacks do dumb things and with off start, false starts and stuff, offsides and all that. So I mean, yeah, as a Seahawks fan, you want to see Lumen Field packed, to be honest, just because that's what makes watching Seahawks games even better. Even if you're not there in person, just seeing the crazy like loudness of the field when the opposing team's on offense. But yeah, overall it's a good thing. I hope it sticks. It should hopefully just keep on getting your vaccines, people, and let's get healthy. And yeah, we'll see at Lumen Field and watch some Seahawks hopefully win.
JT, what do you think?
Let's do it. Fill it up. Bring the noise. Have fun. Yeah, I think it'll stick. I think the NFL wants to make money. And I am excited for it to be full capacity. I've never been to a Seahawks game. Spoiler. Big surprise here, but sometimes the best seat in the house is in your house, in front of the TV. But yeah, go wild, bring the noise, and I want to see the Seahawks have the 12th man behind them, and it's always just more fun when you can barely hear the announcers calling a big play.
Well, we don't have to worry about you, JT, because on last episode you said you were signing with the Seahawks as a lineman, so you're not going to be in the stands; you're going to be on the field. So that'll be much more important for the Seahawks. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, like Kevin said, let's just be safe. But yeah, I think it's going to open and it's going to stay open. I don't see how it's going to close. So I'm ready to embrace it. Let's do the thing. Let's have the noise. Let's pump it up. Let's use our advantage to our advantage, and let's do the thing.
Caca! That's the Seahawk call, right?
Yeah, JT's.
That's what they do in the stadium, right? The caca!
That's
JT. Yeah, as I can tell, you've been to the stadium. It's a caca. Yeah.
And they actually do the wings too. They go like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to do both of them at the same time. Yeah. Oh, that's a variation. I do like that one. That's a baby hawk.
It's a baby one.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is all the time we have on Washington East to West Sports. JT, thank you for joining us once again. I'm sure you'll be back to talk more baseball, and that is an amazing Augusta Green Jackets hat. So for Sean, for Kevin, for JT, we will see you next time on Washington East to West Sports.